Good morning, it's January 23rd, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, here it is Monday, and Congress will be coming back to work. We still don't have any agreement on the debt limit, and one does not appear to be in sight. Over the weekend, Ron Klain, the White House Chief of Staff, said the administration would not negotiate with Republicans on the debt limit increase. He said it was the job of Congress to raise the limit, and there was nothing more to it. Of course, he's also leaving the White House staff this year for some high-paying, cushy job, probably in the media or some think tank. There are also rumors that President Biden would sit down and speak with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on this issue, but that appears to be just a rumor at this point in time. White House staff are saying the meeting would be general in nature and not about the debt limit. Now, how many of you believe this statement? I think that most Americans would expect them to sit down and try to find a solution. History tells us they have to negotiate. In 2011, President Obama negotiated with a House Republican majority to increase the limit, and in 2019, President Trump negotiated with Democrats and agreed to big discretionary spending increases to raise the debt limit. That was a mistake. To recap the problem, we need to look at both sides. Republicans campaigned on bringing some control over runaway government spending. Democrats campaigned on the programs they had funded, and they were in no need to roll any of them back. This puts them at loggerheads, and something will have to give in the end. Now, I've stated previously that the debt ceiling will eventually have to be raised. Some Republicans might not like hearing this, but that's the reality. The full faith and credit of the United States government would be at stake. The United States should not and cannot default on debts it owes. We've hit the magical number of the debt limit, but the Treasury can take what is referred to as extraordinary measures and can meet payments until sometime in May or June. Once we get past that, the ability would start defaulting on debts. I mention this because it means we still have time to find a compromise. We need to face the harsh reality that as a nation we are now $31 trillion in debt. That amounts to about $90,000 for every man, woman, and child in the country. And that debt's not going away. And the interest owed on that debt is increasing daily. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the interest this fiscal year will be about $400 billion, and by the end of the decade, that amount will balloon to $1.2 trillion. The people in the nation get no goods or services for this money. It's simply paid to the holders of the debt. The question is, will some reasonable Democrats step up and make it clear that they're willing to negotiate? Well, one such Democrat is Senator Joe Manchin, a moderate within his own party, and he said he's willing to take that mantle. Specifically, Manchin said he has talked briefly with Speaker Kevin McCarthy about a bill he co-sponsored with Senator Mitt Romney from Utah in the last Congress. And that bill would create a rescue committee for every endangered government trust fund, like Social Security, Medicare, and the Highway Trust Fund. The bill, which they have yet to reintroduce in the 118th Congress, would allow the top 4 congressional leaders to appoint 3 members for every rescue committee and give lawmakers on the panel 180 days, that's 6 months, to come up with a policy solution for solvency. I would suspect that Senator Kyrsten Sinema might look to join this duo. In reality, a few more Democrats might join in as well. John Tester, Democrat from Montana, Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio, and Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada, will all face tough re-elections, and they may join with Manchin, and that group would tip the scales, forcing a negotiation. The Senate voted on a version of the Romney-Manchin Trust Funds bill as a non-binding amendment to the Democrats' fiscal 21 budget resolution. That vote was 71-29 in favor, with 21 senators who caucused with the Democrats and all 50 Republicans serving at the time supporting it. Democrats who are no longer part of the political caucus in Congress realize there has to be some form of negotiation. Jim Kessler, a former top Schumer aide and now the executive vice president for policy at the Third Way, a centrist think tank, was interviewed and said, quote, "Ultimately, Schumer, McConnell, and Biden will figure something out," end quote. A more reasoned approach comes from former Senator Kent Conrad, a Democrat from the Dakotas. I had the pleasure of working with Senator Conrad on several issues. And he said, quote, "A failure to deal with the debt limit would be catastrophic for the economy. Any serious person who has studied this knows the economic consequences will be deep, long-lasting, and disastrous," end quote. Congress said a negotiation between Biden and Republican Congress could be, quote, "an opportunity to deal with some of the long-term challenges facing the country," end quote. The harsh reality is that both Social Security and Medicare are headed for insolvency, he said. there's an opportunity to deal with some of these long-term challenges that are critically important to the country. And these are the words from a former Democratic senator. And he's absolutely correct. It's an opportunity to deal with some of the major issues facing the nation, and to walk away from that to score some political points would be a dereliction of duty. And I will close with these thoughts. Today, Americans are connecting the dots between the unsustainable deficit spending and historically high inflation. In the Peter G. Peterson Foundation's monthly Fiscal Confidence Index, a report found that 71% of respondents now believe that Congress should make deficit reduction one of their top 3 priorities. If that does not alert Democrats, nothing will. Mark Twain once wrote that public opinion, quote, settles everything. Some believe it to be the voice of God, end quote. Perhaps not the voice of God, but history shows that today's public opinion can help empower lawmakers to do what must be done. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.